still spending time with us in Impactful News Season 5, please put your hands together and welcome Miss Karen Tok.
Thank you, Remy. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me on the show.
There you are.
I love selling. Yes, me. I love selling. So, it starts from being fear of selling to love of selling.
Oh, I like the sound of that positivity already. So, but meanwhile, how's it going? And how's the renovation coming along in your home?
It's doing great. It's been 2 years and it's doing very well right now. And we are very close to moving in. But I can tell you renovation is such an adventure.
So yeah, I love it how you spin everything to the positive note, right? But Karen, let's delve straight into what you want to share for this evening, shall we? So we're talking about overcoming the fear of failure. So when you talk about overcoming fear, Karen, is it really possible to overcome fear? And do you think you've mastered the skill of overcoming it?
Very good question, Remy. Well, I don't think I have mastered the fear of overcoming fear, but I have learned how to become one with it. So I think overcoming fear, as in like fear disappearing in our life, in my opinion, it's not possible. Fear will always be there, will always be with us. So, Mark Twain said, courage is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of fear, right? So I would say that, although fear can be a disruptive and negative energy, but it can also bring us very positive outcome, right? And fear is a survival instinct. We can learn how to ride on this energy that fear creates, that fear generates, to help us achieve success as well. So yeah, the bad news is they'll be around. The good news is we can ride on it and achieve success.
So from the sound that the way you describe fear is a little bit like COVID-19, isn't it? It's not going to go away anytime soon. We're still living with it. But the key word is living with COVID-19 and living with fear and how to be friends with it.
Exactly. How do you be friends? So one is how to be one with fear. So I think first, to be one with anything, you have to acknowledge its existence, right? It's there. And then next, how do we embrace fear instead of running away and avoiding it? And so that's a step one. And then two is how do you make fear your friend? So I have to say, throughout all my life, my faithful old friend, fear, has never abandoned me. In fact, she is with me right now.
Oh, it's a she.
Very faithful. So one great way I find that one could overcome fear, or rather be acquainted with fear, is to be comfortable with the presence of it, right? So how do you be comfortable? So one is to create more opportunity where you could hang out with fear.
Hang out with fear.
Yes.
And tell us more.
Thing, like baby step, like how do you can learn something new. You could, if you're afraid of singing, you could go karaoke. Like me, I don't really sing, but surely if I go to karaoke, there will be some fear. Or you could speak on a stage. You learn how to speak. Or you can participate in competition. Competition always bring all kinds of fear. Learn cooking and then straight go to compete for something, right? So then when you get acquainted and you get familiar and you see fear often, so you get used to this feeling of how fear is like. And then when fear comes out frequently, you will not be startled by it or try to run away.
At least you're used to the momentum of having fear around. So by just facing fear head on, by having opportunities to hang out with fear as a good friend, right?
Yes. Okay. So that's one way to kind of get used to the fear, but it's never go away. I'm always fearful, like, coming to speak in your show. I don't know what Remy is going to be like. I don't know what the audience is going to be like. You're going to ask me a question that I can't answer, so it's fear is there with me right now. Yes.
But you see, Karen, the thing is this. Look, you say facing fear head on, get used to it, get used to the momentum and having fear in their life, being good friends with them. Besides going head on, is there another way we can deal with it besides heading fear on? Because you see, fear can be really overwhelming and just break us into pieces, right? Even for some, speaking on stage or on air is a very difficult thing for people to do. Look, I enjoy public speaking. Although the Myers-Briggs test suggests I'm an introvert, but I enjoy public speaking. Life is ironic sometimes, right? But see, for you started a biotech recruitment business with no experience, no much cash. It must be a really difficult decision for you. Look, no cash, no experience, and why this industry? And were you fearful? Were you scared? And how do you overcome it if you're feeling afraid?
Definitely very scared, because I think at that time all I had was maybe like a $5,000 in my bank, and my mom gave me $20,000 to get the agency license, and that's all I had, nothing else. So prior to that, I took about 2 years to think about what business do I want to start, because I know I want to start a business. And so it took me too long, and I thought maybe I have this paycheck syndrome. Paycheck syndrome is you got to have paycheck, and you don't have paycheck, you get really panic.
That sounds like a lot of us, right? That's the reason why we're employee. I mean, there is a really, really common saying in Mandarin, but I'll just loosely translate it to English, right? If being an entrepreneur is that easy, no one would be an employee, right? Everybody will start doing a business. So that paycheck syndrome is real, but how do you
real. So I thought that was my reason that I couldn't get creative and have no business brain. So I then stopped working totally, and I took 1 year break. So, and kind of this is the reason why I got to with very little cash left. So when I first started that, yes, although it's true that I didn't have any relevant experience, the only experience that is closest to it is really selling. I did have some sales skill, but I definitely don't have biotech. I didn't even have a science for my O level. I mean, if I have to do one, I probably fail. And I don't have a PhD. My clients are all PhD, and not just one, multiple PhD. And I don't know anything about the industry. And then now I have to go out and say, hey, I could hire scientists for you. I could hire doctors and pharmacologists or whatever for you, right? So there is a huge amount of fear. And then what if I don't make it? And what about the fear of failure? It was very huge. And everyone's going to laugh at me, and it's like, oh, I try on my own, I don't make it. So there is tons of fear. So, and I cannot deny that it exists. So your question is, what's the mechanism to cope with this,
Correct.
Right? So I have this very interesting tool I could share that I use. It's just a process. I call it leveraging pessimism.
Leveraging pessimism.
Yes.
Okay, tell us more.
Yeah. So now, how many of you, audience out there, like you have been to personal development where they tell you optimism leads to success, right?
Right.
So, and stay positive, you will see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so I'm not sure about you, but I took that advice very seriously and applied it fully during my early 20s.
Okay.
And
be optimistic.
Yes, that's all you need. Optimism. And then I was searching. So so I did that, but unfortunately, time after time, optimism led me to nowhere, right? And so the thing is that we have been taught, right? Pessimistic thinking is wrong. We have to avoid that at all costs. That's what we've been taught. But I've discovered that pessimism can be a great catalyst to help us to achieve incredible success. And there is there's a lot of research about the benefit of positive thinking.
Okay.
But many psychologists and experts in positive thinking are warning against unrealistic optimism, which ignores threats and foster complacency. Yeah, and however, realistic optimism is being aware and prepared for potential threats, but hopes for the best.
Expecting the worst, but hoping for the best.
Yeah.
Have I summed that up pretty much for positive leveraging on pessimism, right?
How do you apply this? Now, this is how I'm going to show you how you can apply. So, if you think of the worst case scenario, so let's say when I was thinking about, okay, I want to start a biotech recruitment company because the government say in the next 10 years, we're going to focus in biotech as one of the 4 key verticals for the growth for Singapore. That was 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so then I decided. So what I'll do is I go into the worst case scenario.
Right.
So what happened if I don't make it after 6 months?
Right.
I have 5,000, can I even last that long? What if I fail to deliver to the clients? Because who's in biotech? All the big brands, GSK, Pfizer, all the big brands. It will be quite disaster if I fail, right? And so this negative thoughts will come in as you think about all the worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And then, therefore, what you need to do next is then you need to do this exercise, you do some risk assessment. Mm-hmm. You put in place the worst case financial projections and the best case and the worst case and the pro and contract list. So you have all this thing to help you think through, and just knowing that it's an exercise.
Right.
So when you get there, the problem is you can cross into the fear zone, and then you get crippled by it, and you say, no, I'm not going to think about it anymore. Let's not do it, right? So no, you go into this analysis just knowing that it's just a thought. Okay, then if you really feel crippled by it, I would suggest just stop, breathe, and then just talk. Stop, breathe, talk. Who do you talk to? You talk to mentors. You talk to people who has done it, failed. You talk to people who has done it and succeeded. So talk to people, speak to mentor, find out what exactly is this like. And even talk to people who fail. What is it like when you failed? Right? So that's very important. Don't just talk to successful people. And so, the question is have you all ever experienced when you have so much stress and anxiety when you are thinking of the worst case scenario? Like it could be planning to tell your boss off, preparing a presentation, or resign from your job. Even that is quite fearful, right? So the key is not to run away. Feel the fear and be one with fear. And then don't give up. At this point, as mentioned, this is where people give up, and not knowing that they are so close to the finishing line, they give up, right? So, and some people actually skip this step entirely, and then they just rely on blind optimism to charge forward. So that's another problem, right? So you don't think about the worst case scenarios, all positive, let's go. Doesn't work that way.
No.
No. So for me, real optimism is knowing the problem and recognizing the solution. Recognizing the solution. So leveraging pessimism is a deep dive for a reality check.
See, Karen, what I want to do right now at this point in time, because time is always so precious for our speakers, we're running out of time. Allow me to just paraphrase the essence of your sharing. And there's so many comments from in the chat room right now with some questions. Maybe we're going to save that a bit later for Q&A at the end of the program. But Karen, you see, you are such an incredible person with such great story to tell. And once again, time is never enough for you. But if there's something I want to take away and just summarize it into a paragraph for our listeners right now on Facebook Live in this chat room right now is this. We always must recognize and acknowledge that fear will not go away. We need to acknowledge so we can befriend them and be with them and to coexist with them. They're not gonna go away. And when you want to start something, fear may cripple or maybe may haunt you, but that shouldn't stop you from pursuing what you want. You should always have a leveraging on what we call leveraging on pessimism, positive leveraging on pessimism. If I got it right, can you just rephrase that again?
Leveraging pessimism.
Leveraging pessimism. And what you do is this, you do a bit of a quick reality check. What's the worst possible scenario? What's the best possible scenario? And just keep thinking and just keep deep diving to a point that you say, oh, I'm burnt out. I need to stop. I need to breathe. And I need to talk to a mentor who's not only been successful. You want to talk to those seniors and veterans who has failed before, so you can learn from their mistakes and their successes and derive from there, get yourself back and move forward and live with fear.
You're such a good student, Remy. Excellent summary.
And Karen, I wish there's more time with you, but please stick around for the Q&A later on. So Karen, it's been such a pleasure and welcome to the Impactful New You family. We'll see Miss Karen talk. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Karen, please.